Hi everyone, thanks for joining the webinar. So today the topic is Introduction to Auth. This is in continuation with the session Vinod took last week around essentials of web security. The recordings are there on YouTube, so if you are interested in checking out that session, do go there and have a look. The webinar is organized by the Happy to Help platform. So Om has put up the links in the chat window. Please do go and have a look there. It's a platform where you can kind of collaborate with people on various topics and areas of interest. There are people there who are volunteering time for free for conducting webinars, doing one-on-one discussions with people. So do have a look at those. Vinod, just to introduce him very quickly, is a senior architect with Mastercard. He like I have known him for over now, I guess 8 years. So he's and I know that he's like a very hands-on end-to-end architect who you know really is fun to work with. His areas of interest include microservices, cloud native architecture. He dabbles with some security aspects, mostly I'm assuming on the right side of on the white hat side of security, but that is questionable. And automation. So those are, I think, Vinod's areas of interest. Over to you, Vinod. Vinod, I'm not able to hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yes, now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, good. Hey, thanks, Atul, for giving the introduction. Today's session is mainly focusing on basics of OAuth, and we'll see how it goes. If we get more questions on basic stuff, then we'll have to stick to basic concepts. Otherwise, we can dig into advanced concepts as well. So I have prepared the PPT, considering that if we get more technical crowd, then we should be able to proceed ahead and go do a deep dive. Okay. About myself, I think Atul has already talked about. These are the few areas of my interest. I'm basically a solution architect and hands-on, as Atul mentioned. So I love coding. Today's agenda would be like understanding how do we log in. Although there are many usages of OAuth, but we will start with understanding how authentication works, or how we do the login to traditional sites. Then traditional ways of accessing data from different sites. Then modern ways to log in. That's of course will include OAuth. And then what's all OAuth about? OAuth flow in detail, step by step, to understand the technical integrities of it. And if time permits, then OAuth different legs, one leg, two leg, three leg implementation, and what's the usage of it. Okay, just simple agenda for today. Let's start with basic stuff like how do we log into a site. Today also we do this, right? We log in using user ID and password, and we keep all this information on the right hand side, okay, somewhere on our secret text file, excel file, or so password vault. So many applications we maintain to just keep a track of all the email user IDs and password, because most of the applications will have different combinations. Okay, this password will work here, this password will expire now and then. So keeping a track of user ID and password is very difficult. So usually we tend to keep it somewhere, copy pasted, which is most vulnerable thing, to keep it anywhere, because hackers are watching you. They know where you're keeping information, from where you're doing a copy paste, everything they understand. And if you are wealthy enough for them to fraud, or if you're popular, then they will definitely try to crack your passwords easily. Okay, so that is the reason now all applications are saying that, okay, now instead of logging into each and every application, why don't we explore something new. Okay, so that is what we will understand in the OAuth. Apart from this, now earlier we used to have Hotmail. I don't know how many of you have used Hotmail That time we had only Hotmail and Yahoo was there. That time Google was not even there. And then Google came in, and then we had something like this. Okay. Now, when we used to log into Google, Google was saying that, okay, now whatever accounts your friends, contacts are there in Yahoo, Hotmail, or AOL, why don't we import all those contacts here so that we can manage your address book better? And I don't know how many of you have actually used this, but believe me, we used to type Yahoo user ID password or Hotmail user ID password on Google site. So you can see on the top, there's a Google URL, https://www.google.com, and here we used to type select which application I want to use, and Yahoo's password we used to enter here, or Hotmail's password. So you can say even the user ID is like you know GOOTCH2@hotmail.com. So that's a user ID and that's a password of Hotmail. So we used to enter that and then say find friend. So what Google was to do is like take all these credentials and then hit Hotmail server. And then once you log into Hotmail server, it's like you're giving access to complete details. So it can access your emails or everything had access to. So we were not having any limits like, okay, you can access only friend's address book, because although we are saying intent to get only address book, but we were giving access to all everything, all emails, all great stuff, everything. So this was something like I would say called as a dark side of our history. So this is something that is now stopped, fortunately, because of things like OAuth. Okay. Now, I am sure you must have gone through or seen some of the sites where you see sign into Google, sign in with Facebook, sign into Apple, or sign in with Twitter, this kind of icons. So I have taken this screenshot from medium.com, which is a blogger site. And here we have four options to log in using some other site. And the last option is talks about only the local authentication, where you need to enter the user ID password similar to what we had earlier. So something like this. But nowadays we are seeing almost all sites are going with this mechanism, where they're saying, okay, why don't you log into Google, or why don't you log into Facebook, and then we will take your details like user ID, password, or profile pic from that website, and then we'll create your account on this our site also, like medium.com. But all the time you have to log in using Google, so that we will let you log in. So what does it mean actually? So here what we are saying is, we are asking you not to store any of the credential, user ID, password for medium.com, for this blogger site. So what you need to do is you need to just remember your passwords, where since you log into Google or Facebook accounts very frequently, so you know all these passwords, the limited set of passwords, right? Google social sites passwords. So now using those credentials, you log into Google only, and then from Google we will take a handle, and we will allow, say that, okay, there is a trust between Google and our application, and we will let you inside our application. So there is no physical authentication happening on our side. So let's understand one by one, step by step, how it works actually. So let's assume that we are clicking on the second option, where we are saying sign into Facebook. Okay, that's a point number one. Here we are saying step one. Now as a part, step two, we are logging into facebook.com. Although I have not actually, I should have captured the URL as well, but that's actually facebook.com. So we are not logging into medium.com, but we are actually logging into facebook.com. And here we are entering the credentials on facebook.com website. So we are not giving credentials of Facebook to medium.com, but we are actually logging to facebook.com. As a part of Facebook authentication, I have set up two-factor authentication. That's the reason it's asking me to enter a six-digit code, which was sent to my email ID and mobile number. So I presume that I have entered this information. So what comes next? So after this, there is a prompt. That's our fourth step. Here it says, okay, Medium will receive your name and profile picture and email address. So here what we are saying is, Medium has asked for information related to user profile picture and name and email address. So these are the only three things are required by Medium to create an account and perform the authentication or do the authorization. Okay, so once we click on continue, it will pass on this information to medium.com. So if you can see on the top side, top URL is there, facebook.com. So as I said earlier, we are logging in actually to facebook.com, and from that, once I click on continue, it's actually going to redirect me or a user to medium.com. So you can see here https:// and then here there's a codes I use, HTTP codes, and then medium.com. So once I agree to this, then I agree to send only this information: name, profile picture, and email address. Similar images you can see even on the Google. So Google says that whether your email address, profile pic and other stuff is requested. So do you wish to give access to it? So if I click on access granted, then it will give that access to all this information to that website. Now let's see if I continue. When I click on continue, what exactly happens? Next thing happens is this is a Medium server. This is all communication was happening earlier with user. So all interaction was happening with user. You can see here till 4.4. But when I go here, so that is requests are granted, access is granted. Now Medium will send a request, API request to Facebook, saying that okay, now I want to fetch these details. So Facebook said, oh okay, that looks like you are authenticated earlier, or user has given you access token. So now you can access details of this so and so customer and get the details. So it will allow medium.com to get all this information, whatever is already approved. Okay, and you can see on the step 7, user is trusted, and now user is created or access has been granted to that specific user. So if already user is created, then it will just allow user to access the medium.com based on the whatever credentials user has entered on facebook.com. Or if you're already logged into web for facebook.com, it will not even ask you to enter the credentials. It will just directly say, okay, medium.com is asking for these details, should I give or not, that way. Okay, and this is something like, you can see a medium.com, you're not entering any of the information like user ID, password on medium.com. If you see all these pages here, we are saying we are entering details on the facebook.com. So what happens is here we are not doing any authentication for a user. So we are trusting third party like Facebook or Google or some Twitter, and think that okay, if you're authenticating this user and give me these details, then I trust that details, and then I will proceed further based on that details. So this is mechanism is also called as a federated authentication. Okay. So what is OAuth all about? So OAuth, generally people have a confusion like whether it's authentication or authorization. So here, when we say OAuth, it's open authorization. So we are not doing any authentication because authentication has been delegated to someone else, third party. What we are doing is we are trusting that third party and giving access to the our site. Okay. So here you can see a definition: OAuth, which stands for open authorization, allows third party services to exchange your information or user information without having to give away your password. So if you remember in earlier site, when we said Google, we used to enter the password for user, Yahoo user ID and password. So those things we don't have to do it now because of OAuth. So OAuth is what is OAuth? OAuth is a framework or it's a concept. I think anyone can implement it in their own ways. Okay. So, and here the best part of this thing is that we know what exactly access we are giving. This is something like in a mobile application, when you install any app, it says that, okay, I want to get access to your camera, I want to get access to SMS, I want to get access to your calendar. So that time you can understand, okay, whether this application really needs access to the camera or not. Or if it just give access to the media files, that should be sufficient. So based on that, we should be able to take a call and say that okay, this is sufficient, and I don't have to give access to those so and so stuff. For example, SMS, I don't want to give access to the SMS. I can enter SMS, whatever enter code will come, I can type manually, so I don't have to give access to SMSs. So that kind of controls are given on the even on the web frameworks now. So here we will say that okay, only give access to the limited information. Okay, so as I said earlier, it works by delegating the user authentication to service that hosts the user account. So user account is hosted only on the, let's say, Google, Gmail, and other Gmail or social, all Twitter or Facebook. And what we are doing is we are just making use of that. So authentication piece, if you understand the technical integrities of it, authentication, managing authentication is a very critical or difficult part, because you every now and then you hear that, okay, somebody's data is hacked, some users credentials are taken, because their user ID passwords are compromised for some or other reason. So now what these sites are doing is, we are not managing your credentials, so this is managed by Google. So let Google manage this well. So because we know that Google will take care of all the security aspects, so that is the reason we trust more to Google than sites like Medium and others, where credentials might get compromised. I'm just taking an example. Don't take it seriously on that, because Medium is also a very quite mature site. They can also take care of this well. Um, okay. And OAuth 2 is become nowadays, or even OAuth 1 is become a standard for authentication system for REST APIs. So we will look at that at the end for the how it is being used for the RESTful APIs. But now we will just continue with what we learned from a technical angle. Now we have understood how we are getting access to the third delegating authentication piece, and then we are continuing with the rest of the things, how we are doing the authorization piece and all that stuff. But how it internally happens, what exactly happens? So I'm entering the password, then how Facebook comes to know, okay, that Medium has got access to so and so information. So that details we'll try to understand more now. This is just a history about OAuth. If you look at this, OAuth 1 is there in 2000, came in 2010, whereas OAuth 2 came immediately after that in 2012. But the advanced concepts like JWT and other concepts came very late, like 2015. So those who are from a development background would know that, okay, we always think of it as if JWT is a part of OAuth, but it is not true. It is like, just OAuth is just one of the JWT can be implemented anywhere, not only with OAuth. And for OAuth, we don't have to have a JWT token. We'll, if time permits, we'll definitely get into what exactly JWT token is. So just as an full form, it's a JSON web token. So whatever information we are sending, we'll be sending in a JSON format. Okay. So far, any questions till now?
Yeah, Vinod.
Yeah.
So just one question on, probably we can cover it later. It's kind of detailed. So when when we allow, so when we enter credential and medium for, let's say Facebook, and when Facebook does authorization, in the response, does it send anything back to the medium? Because when medium makes a API call to Facebook, what the request parameter would look like, or what header information does it send?
Yes. So now we will get into technical. So that time we will touch base on that. How
Okay.
that is what the we'll cover in the next part.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
but from the basic perspective, yeah, thanks. So
Yeah.
basic perspective, if there are any questions like how things are happening, then we would like to address here. Otherwise, now we'll get into more technical. Okay.
So Vinod,
Mhm.
yeah, are you saying we are using the Google or Facebook for the login purpose? So whenever we are creating our application and using this authorization, so
Mhm.
Facebook and Google are providing some API to call that authorization. Am I
Yes,
correct?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So they are
Okay.
allowing us to. They're supporting OAuth. So this is just an example. Just since everyone comes across this example, that's the reason I've taken this example. But if you see Indian websites, uh, here Indian government has created a DigiLocker, if you're aware of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
right? So that DigiLocker has got already pre-authenticated information or documents. So no need to go here and there. Anyone can actually, requester can go to that DigiLocker and request for the information. Again, for that, there is a REST API supported by DigiLocker. So I guess there is one loan. West Loan, some loan site is there, which is actually already integrated with DigiLocker, and they're fetching the documents using that, and then they're able to see, okay, now this person is KYC is completed, and we can proceed ahead. Similar to what you might have seen for the Geo, when you go for looking for a SIM card, that time you enter the information, but that time they directly get information from the Aadhaar-based system, whereas now they are actually asked to go to this one, DigiLocker, and get this information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. If there are no questions, let's move on to the next. Now there are few concepts or things that you need to understand what are the different roles played by different systems or different entities within this whole this process, authentication authorization process. First one is a resource owner. That's you, end user. Okay. Now, when you say that this is my degree or this is my information, then you are the owner of it. So that's the reason we call this a owner. And this resource word came in from RESTful services. So we call everything as a resource. So you are the owner of that resource. So that's the reason we are calling it as a resource owner. But you can just keep it simple and remember it as a end user, just to keep it simple. Okay. Next one is a resource server. Where exactly you have kept this information? For example, if you're talking about photos or some documents which are there on the Google Drive, then that Google Drive server becomes your resource server. Then next one is a client application. Now the application which is actually requesting for the protected resources. If I'm saying that, okay, I'm applying for a loan, or we can take a previous example where we are saying that, okay, I want to authenticate and then get access. I want to get access to the credential users information like username, not password, but email ID and a profile photo. So I need these three information. So I'm requesting for this information. Then this is in this context we call that system or application as a client. Okay. The last one is the authorization server. Authorization server is a server which actually does the authorization piece, or actually does the authentication and does the authorization on behalf of third-party application. So in this case, we talked about Facebook is the authorization server. And if we take a case of Google Drive, I'm taking this Google Drive example because there are two entities. In case of Facebook, both our entities are same. But when we are requesting data from Google Drive about photos and other stuff, so that time Google servers are there, authentication servers are different from my Google Drive servers. So authorization happens through that accounts server. So you might have already seen when you access to Gmail or any of the application of Google, it goes to googleaccounts.com. Whereas when you say once the authentication is done, then it is redirected to Gmail and other applications or Google Drive account. Okay. So that way authorization server is there. In case of Google, it's like accounts.google.com. Let's take a case of, we'll continue with the earlier example of Facebook and other stuff, and see, I'll try to understand this whole flow one by one. So this is a user. This is an end user I'm talking about. So we call this as a resource owner. Sorry, I have not named it here. I should have named it here. Resource owner. So resource owner goes to client application. That is my medium.com. And it opens a site and says that, okay, I want to sign up, sign in. Then it says, okay, now which application you want to use? You want to use Facebook, Google, or what is it? So then you choose one of the option. Then in this case, we have chosen the Facebook. So it will redirect application redirects user to facebook.com. So we get redirected to facebook.com, and then user enters all the credentials here. That's the reason that we are saying on the step 3, user grants access. So we are saying, okay, log into site. If you're already logged in, then directly it will prompt you to say that, okay, whether you want to give access to these resources or not. If you say yes, then it will continue. So that is what we are saying. Step 3, user grants access. That is what we have done. Clicked on continue. what happens? This is only the 3 steps we have learned earlier. So step 4, what happens is access token is provided in hash fragment to my medium.com. So if you remember, we medium.application has invoked this and said that, okay, now whatever happens after that, at the end, you're supposed to come back. If you remember, redirect URL. Here, one sec, I'll just show you this here. After doing all of this, this is going to redirect back to medium.com. So while redirecting back to medium.com, it will give me what? Access token in hash fragment. So it is in hash code, it is given to medium.com. What happens next? So this is done. So once we get this information, then medium.com client application actually makes a call to authorization server and says, okay, I want to get an access token for this information. Then it will get an access token. So that will be available with access token will be available with client application. Now, after that, whenever it requests for resources like username, email address, or profile pic, so that time it is going to send that access token while calling that API. So in this case, if we are talking about Facebook, that's the reason it is like this. Otherwise, it would have been authorization server is Google server, a Google account server, and resources or API server is like Google Drive. Is this clear now? Any questions on this slide? Because this is important to understand.
Yeah, Vinod, understood.
Okay, perfect, good. And these terms you need to remember because these are usually confusing. Whenever we say client, in general, we say client is user. So don't confuse with that. Client is a client application. And when you say end user or resource owner, then that's your end user. Okay. I hope there are no questions. So let's move on. This is again same representation in sequence diagram format to give more clarity on each and every step of it. We'll quickly go through this. Okay, so user clicks on the URL, then on the browser will forward that URL and then start authentication or auth process here when you click on sign up. Okay, then here it says that, okay, you're clicked on sign up now. So that is the reason it is redirecting you to the auth server that request has come in on the browser. So browser will redirect you back to the authorization server. And now from authorization server will present authorization UI where you are supposed to enter. If it is not authenticated, pre-authenticated by default, usually we are authenticated on our devices. So that's the reason it's directly says present authorization UI. So here it will say whether you want to grant accesses to medium.com or not. So you say, okay, I want to give access. So you'll say, okay, fine, authorize or deny. After that, it will whatever we have submitted, that information goes to authorization server. Then authorization server will verify and create authorization token. And now that authorization token is given back to my browser, which actually is redirecting, because if you remember again here on authorization server, it will redirect to original site from where you came in. That is a client application. So here it is follow redirect. It will redirect to your web server or application server, whichever application we are using it. Oh, sorry. And from there, so if you remember here till this point, we are just getting the authorization code. So till this point, we are not authorized to make any calls to any resources. So after that, again, it is supposed to give that authorization code to authorization server and get the access token. So this is the actual key here. Why is it happening like this? Because if you see in this, all this whole flow, this authorization token, authorization to server is sending the authorization token to the browser. So if there are someone on the browser, somebody sitting, if we had covered this last time, so like if there is a man in middle in the authorization, the server side, then he will get access to all this information. But what it is doing is now it is just forwarding that information to the application, and then application server will internally make a call to authorization server, and then when authorization server knows, okay, I have authorized only to medium.com, so it will not accept request from any other third-party application to provide access, give this access token. So there are multiple mechanisms in place to ensure that only requester has got this information, and only requester is asking for the access token, and that too is it's given only to the server. So this is web server, although it is mentioned as a web server, generally it happens on the application server. From application server we request get all this information. So from authorization server we are getting the access token, and now that access token is available only with the server. It is not even given to the browser or client. So now that is, it is only with Medium. So Medium will actually make a call to actual resource server, whether it's a Google Drive or it could be same server, although I've mentioned it here as a different based on the case to case. If I'm requesting for a Google Drive, then it's a different server. Then it will say that, okay, I've got this access token, now give me this information. So it will say, okay, now you're already authenticated and this is access token. So it will give you access to the protected resource. In some of the cases, there could be scenarios where resource server is not able to validate the access token. So it might internally make a call to authorization server and say that, okay, whether this token is valid or not. If it says okay, then only it will return the protected resources. Okay. Any questions on this slide or till now, whatever we have covered?
Yeah, Vinod.
Yeah.
Thanks. No, this is very helpful. Thanks for this. Just one question on, probably two questions on this. One is, I mean, when the user is already authenticated and he have, I mean, let's say the app server has received the authorization code, then it makes a call to resource server to get the resource, right? So is that already user is already authenticated? I mean, how many times this call is made normally in a normal scenario to authorization to resource server to get something? I mean, for example, in case of Medium, once he's logged in, right? I mean, what
correct.
other details required?
No, see, whenever, if you remember, normal, compare this with the traditional flow. In the traditional flow, what do we do? We do the authentication and authorization only once. After that, once user is authenticated and authorized, we know application knows session is maintained. So now once a web session is maintained, after that, we don't do again this part again and again. But if you're logged out of the session, or your session is closed because of some or other reason, then in that case, again, you have to follow the complete process. Okay. But if I understood your question correctly, one point is that around even the authentication. For example, this authorization survey is there. Now, when you open your Gmail application on local mobile application or on desktop, do you enter password every time? No, right? So what do? We are already, once we are authenticated, cookies are created in protected fashions, secured cookies are created, and that cookies travel from browser to server, and then you're authenticated internally automatically. So you don't enter the credentials again and again. So that is the best part here. So this is what is depicted here. When medium.com is sending redirecting the request to the authorization server, that time in our flow I showed you all the complete flow where user is doing entering the user ID password, but this may not be necessary because you're already logged into Google or Facebook all the time. So it will just say that, okay, continue, click on continue, then we are done. But this process will continue for all the time. Now, that is the reason this is used only for web applications generally, where we have 3 legs. So we will talk about that very soon. How it happens for the REST APIs.
Okay, I get it. Thanks. So basically, once the app server has received the access token, the next call to API on resource server is not mandatory. It's optional. It's up to Medium to call the resource server to get further details.
Yes, now once it receives the authorization code, it understands, okay, now you have somehow got the authorization code, means some level of authentication is done and authorization you got it. But still, the whole process, why we started this whole thing is that because Medium doesn't know you. Only Facebook or Google knows who are you because you have logged into that server. So how it will
Okay,
give it
got
to
it.
the personalization for you? So that's the reason it has to make a call to resource
Okay.
server. And now here, when we make a call like this, and this whole
Yeah.
flow is there, sometimes it is bypassed. It is based on application to application. These days, it is not bypassed. Like now, when you say next time sign up, or the same day, for example,
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
medium.com has already got the authorization code, which is
Yeah.
let's say available or accessible for next 30 minutes or 1 hour. So it may not follow the complete process. It will directly send the information to resource server and get this information and let you in.
Okay.
But generally it is avoided because what we say is this server is not supposed to maintain any of the information in caches.
Okay. Okay. So this auth code sent by other than server, does it also contain some kind of expiration time so that Medium
Yes.
knows?
Yes,
Okay.
it basically it is up to authorization server to create and maintain all that information. So authorization
Okay.
server might say just this is a token, and
Okay.
that token will be internally valid for, let's say, only 1 minute or 2 minutes maximum. And after
Okay.
that, it will expire on its own. So whenever if you request information again, then it will not allow you, let you in. Same is applicable even for the access token. Access token is like you got a certificate to call this resource server, but
Yeah.
it is not
Yeah.
endless. Like
Yeah.
anytime
Yeah.
you
It's
can
not
call.
endless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who sets the time of expiry for the authorization
That's
code? Authorization server, right?
authorization server.
Okay.
It's in.
Okay.
It has a complete control over
Complete.
authorization
Okay.
code as well as access token. Authorization code is here, and access token is here.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Vinod. Thanks.
Thanks. Any other question from anyone? Okay.